Pod language, you ready?
All right.
Ready.
Yep. We're ready.
All right, we'll start with Kathleen.
Good morning. I'm Kathleen Bielsa from Northfield Community LDC. And in my pod, we have Paul Archibald and Katrina Hannon from the College of Staten Island Department of Social Work, Johanna Laporto from Person-Centered Care Services, and David Sorkin from the Staten Island Jewish Community Center. Our pod selected language as our challenge to explore. And in this presentation, you will get to see the languages spoken here in Staten Island. There are a lot of languages spoken in our hometown. Presenters will highlight the important role of language in communication, of course, but also in culture and community belonging. Among our services in my organization is housing counseling, which means we help people resolve their housing needs or problems. It was very appropriate that I found myself in the pod dealing with language. While Northfield has Spanish and Russian speakers on our staff, we also have a duty to do all that we can to assist anyone that seeks our help, no matter what their language. And going through this process with my equity and belonging cohorts, it became clear that we can do more, to not only seek out people who, not only help people who come to us, but to also seek out people who might not come to us because of a language barrier. And we have to commit to proactively becoming language friendly. This process caused me to refocus my perspective and hopefully will result in new tools to improve the ways that we support our community.
So if you think about it, right, language and communication is really vital to really how resources are distributed equitable on an island. So David is going to come to us and talk to us a little bit about that.
Thank you, Paul. The preservation and celebration of one's native language is critical to sustaining one's culture and enhancing the tapestry of a multicultural community. Recognizing that language and culture are intertwined helps us understand the importance of preserving language and also helps us to preserve the beauty of one's culture. We cannot have culture without language, in that language helps us express our feelings and thoughts, many of which are unique to customs within different cultures and societies. Language is a cornerstone to communication and allows us to share ideas, thoughts, and feelings with others. Communication is a cornerstone of access to resources. Imagine trying to get through a medical appointment without being able to understand your physician. This is the situation for millions of Americans with limited English proficiency. Back to Paul.
So let's look at that. When you look at Staten Island specifically, there's a whole lot of different languages spoken there. This depicts 30% of Staten Island speak a language other than English at home. We're going to show you just some pictures about it. There's one picture here that highlights all the different languages that's across the island. It's a picture of Staten Island, and it's color-coded to show where specific languages are located across the island. Here's another one that just looks at the differences between New York City and Staten Island, and you're going to get a copy of this. So, but you can see the differences in the language. If you wanted to focus on this one, because you can see in the blue, 67.4% people who speak English. But what's happened is we don't allow people who are in the green, the red, the purple, and the orange to feel like they belong. And so that's where our focus is in that 37% of people who speak different languages. And so we're now going to have Johanna, who's going to help us to understand what is being done currently.
Thank you, Paul. So here in New York State, we have been fortunate enough to have some governmental executive orders and laws that addresses the issues with language barriers that include Executive Orders 126, 20, and Local Law 30. Next slide. On July 22nd of 2008, Mayor Bloomberg signed the Executive Order 120, which mandated all city agency language services that included free translation, interpretation, and other communication assistance services to non or limited English speakers. On October 6, 2011, Governor Andrew Cuomo signed Executive Order 26, which directs state agencies to provide public services to offer language assistance services programs to people with limited English proficiency, otherwise known as LEP. In 2017, Executive Order 26 mandates for public agencies to provide interpretation services, translating documents and forms into the different identified languages, and to assign a language access coordinator that will work on the agency language plan. Local Law 30 also adds on the executive order requiring city agency to appoint language access coordinators translate commonly distributed documents into the 10 identified languages as noted in the next slide. Here are the 10 identified languages with the link to New York City Language Access Plan. So what is the New York City Access Plan? The Access Plan is basically the plan taken by that specific agency on how they will address the language barriers, which can include training, processes for providing language services, and outreach strategies as demonstrated in the next slide. Here is an example of a language access plan from one of our pod members. Next slide. Here is another example of a language access plan. Here you will find some, next slide. Here you will find some specific examples on language services made available by the Executive Order 26. Now Katrina will discuss some of the available resources on Staten Island.
Good morning, everyone. So in doing this, we realized that it was important to research what was already available here on Staten Island in regards to language access. So we found that the English Language Institute at CSI does offer English classes to limited English proficiency learners, and it does prepare them to take the TOEFL exam. Next slide, please. Thank you. The College of Staten Island also offers medical interpreter training, and this is specific for English, Spanish bilingual speakers. Next. Additionally, we offer sign language courses at the College of Staten Island. So we do have language access for many different areas. Next slide, please. We also found out that there were free English classes being given at the JCC in languages such as Russian, Spanish, Japanese, and more. As far as English language learners, in addition to those classes at CSI and the Jewish Community Center, we also found that the New York Public Library and the YMCA also offer free English classes. Next. And this is additional information about the Spanish to English medical interpreter trainings. And for agencies, we wanted to make sure that agencies had the resources that they need. So the first link is language access resources for a facility. And this is specific to Staten Island PPS. We see that a few of you guys are here with us today, which is awesome. And we're looking to partner with you. And we have a language identification tool, which is on the next slide. I'll show you guys. Really cool in helping people identify which language is needed. Yep, perfect. And if you could just go back real quick, Paul, please.
We have 20 seconds.
Oh, well then go ahead, take it away, Paul.
No, go ahead. So you see she talked about the different language identification tools. So in our 10 seconds, what we came up with based on all this information that we have is that we want to do 4 phases of this work. The first phase is that we want to examine all the different language accessibility needs and plans across the community agencies and organizations in Staten Island. Once we gather that information, the next phase is that we want to conduct language accessibility mapping and develop a resource to be made available to agencies and organizations on Staten Island. Then in our phase 3, we want to create a language access logo that agencies and organizations can have on their website, indicating agencies are language friendly and language accessible space. And then finally, we want to partner with CSI and other agencies such as SIPPS to train community members as language interpreters in healthcare, criminal justice, education, etc. Thank you so much for your time and for hearing the language.